Let's
goodness.
talk about Matthew Perry, and I kind of want to start at the beginning, and then we're going to go through what we know so far.
Oh, Lord. Matthew Perry, y'all. Christina Randall. Shout out to Christina Randall. Make sure you go subscribe to her. She's pinned down in the description. Go show her some love, y'all. A little Matthew Perry action.
Disclaimer, everything in this video is alleged. I have pulled all of my information from very public sources that is already out there. Please go do your own research and form your own opinion. So, okay, Matthew Perry was born on August 19th in 1969 in Williamstown, Massachusetts to his parents, Susan and John. Matthew's mother, Suzanne, is a Canadian journalist who was once the press secretary to the Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Matthew's father, John,
Oh, God.
is an American actor and a former model. Now,
Kimberly, thank you. That's the Montreal airport's named after that dude.
Matthew's parents separated when he was just 1 year old, and his mother would go on to marry a Canadian broadcaster journalist named Keith. Matthew was mostly raised by his mother in Ottawa, Canada, but he also briefly lived in Toronto and Montreal. Growing up, Matthew...
Christina Randall. Y'all, it's been a minute since we listened to Christina Randall. She is so funny. She is so funny. She doesn't even mean to be. She just is. It's so amazing. I want to hear her say Montreal again.
Ottawa, Canada, but he also briefly lived in Toronto and Montreal. Growing up, Matthew went to a boarding school with his half-sister from his father's side, Maria. And I'll be honest, I've always wondered about those boarding schools because they're still around to this day. So if you have any opinions or experience, let me know down in the comments section. At around 10 years old, Matthew began to struggle. He said that he felt like an outsider when his mother started building a family with her new husband. So while Matthew was struggling, he was doing little things like taking money from his mother, he was smoking, he was letting his grades fall, pretty much rebelling. I mean,
oh, hell. His mom should have hit him with the, I'll be there for you.
He even got into a fight with a classmate. Now get this, and this is just so weird, so full circle and kind of suspicious, but this classmate that he got into
oh, hell.
this altercation with just so happened to be Justin Trudeau, the future at the time Canadian Prime Minister. Matthew
Perry beat up Justin Trudeau. Matthew Perry, wherever you are, my friend, I love you. Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. Oh, that's funny. Is that real? That can't be real life. Is that real life? That's hilarious.
Has said that he started drinking when he was just 14, and by the time that he was 18, he was drinking every single day. Matthew was, however, thriving at playing tennis. He said that he was playing for at
Valerie said the hero we deserve. That's hilarious.
At least 10 hours a day, and he became a top-ranked junior player in Canada, and he had the possibility of a professional tennis career. But this dream faded when he moved from Canada to Los Angeles to live with his father when he was just 15 years old. The competition there in LA was much tougher than it was back home. So
he played tennis in Canada? That seems crazy as hell. Hockey, yeah, but tennis? Tennis in Canada? Do they play tennis in Canada? I mean, I know they do, but like, I wouldn't think it'd be that big. You could play like what, a month out of the year? Other than that, you're just hitting ice balls at people. That's so stupid. I'm being facetious, y'all. There's probably some hella good Canadian tennis players out there.
So this is when Matthew kind of switched lanes, and he went from his dream at playing tennis to deciding that he was going to start studying acting.
They use tents, Kristen? No way. Hold on. Canadian winter tennis images. They do. They do. It's a huge inflatable bubble tent. Insane. You a real one. That's crazy as hell. That's awesome. All right, let's keep going. Sorry, y'all. Tangent. I know. Sorry, y'all. I had coffee. That's coffee, iced coffee. So I'm on squirrel mode. Squirrel!
At the Buckley School, which is a college prep school in LA. Now, while he was studying, Matthew took improv comedy classes. He would go on to graduate from there in 1987. Matthew had appeared in some small parts before his graduation.
I was just the
Though. His first credited
No, we got 3 more. Kimberly, thank you.
role was a small part in 240 Robert back in 1979. But as soon as Matthew moved to LA, he started auditioning for bigger roles. He wanted to make it big. He wanted to be a star. And throughout the 80s, Matthew made guest appearances in quite a few shows, most notably Growing Pains. He did this part in Growing Pains in 1989, and some of y'all are going,
that is him. Oh, that's crazy as hell. Canada does some weird stuff with they do curling. That's weird. Desiree, thank you. 2 left.
ding, 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 ding. I remember that show, and some of y'all are going, I have no idea what show that is. Depending on your
I remember that show.
Thought process tells me probably your age range.
Hey.
Because Growing Pains was so big back then. He also made his film debut just before that in a movie called A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. Then in 1990, Matthew was cast as a regular on the 1990 CBS sitcom Sydney. He played the younger brother in this show, but it wasn't until 1993 when Matthew was just 24 years old. He was taking these little roles and he had no idea that he was about to make it big.
Oh, damn. That
his dreams of being the star was actually going to come true. Matthew was actually committed to a sitcom called Lax 2194.
That's a crazy picture. Oh my God. That's a crazy looking picture.
Initially made him unavailable for a role.
TikTok, please come over to YouTube and look at this picture. Just search The Mystery Project.
In another pilot, 6 of 1. Now, 6 of 1 would later be known as the infamous show Friends. But then the Lax 2194 show fell through, so Matthew was finally able to audition for this part in 6 of 1, and he was eventually cast as Chandler Bing. He was the youngest member of the main cast, and as you probably know, the show Friends became a huge success. By 2002, each of the main cast members were making $1 million per episode. I need for everybody to stop and hear that again. In 2002, the cast members were making $1 million per episode. Holy cow. The show earned Matthew an Emmy nomination in 2002 as well. And of course, with the international fame that Matthew was gaining, it came with a microscope that was always on him. Fans began to worry about Matthew when they noticed that he looked different in later seasons of Friends. Matthew would go on to address why that was. Now, according to Matthew, like I said earlier, he had become an alcoholic by the age of 18. And so then in 1997, after a jet ski accident, Matthew said that he became addicted to a pill called Vicodin. He actually ended up going to rehab and he completed a 28-day program. But then in May of 2000, Matthew was admitted to the hospital with an alcohol-induced pancreatitis. Then in 2002, Matthew said that he initially really tried not to drink on the set of Friends, but that he would arrive in the morning with extreme hangovers, and that made him shake and sweat while he was literally filming. He said that during later seasons of the series, he was frequently either high or had been drinking on the set. And apparently, his castmates even tried to help him by staging an intervention. It was unsuccessful. He looked physically different, and everybody could tell. In 2001, Matthew even paused his work so
Oh, no.
he could go enter an inpatient rehab facility for 2 months. And he said at this point, he was really struggling with the Vicodin and methadone and amphetamines and even alcohol. He even would later say that those struggles made it
That poor guy.
to the point that he had like no memory of the first 3 years working on the set of Friends, which is kind of scary to think
It's sad.
about. Like that whole first 3 seasons, he didn't even have any memory of. Now, as the years would go on, he continued to struggle, but he also continued to have a successful career, which had to be hard. So he's struggling with this, he's going through all of this, but his career is continuing to climb at the same time. He was nominated for many awards and he even won some of them. Then in 2018, Matthew would go into the hospital and spend 5 months there for a stomach perforation. During his stay, Matthew literally almost lost his life.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's terrible.
After his colon burst from opioid abuse.
Gee.
He spent 2 weeks in a coma and he had to use a colostomy bag because of it. And I know that I'm not saying that word completely correctly. I try, you guys. He ended up...
Christina, we know you do. And we love every bit of it. Y'all, make sure you show Christina Randall some love. She is amazing.
Having to have this bag for 9 months. His family was told that he only had a 2% chance of surviving. And then 2 years later, while Matthew was in a rehab in Switzerland, he says that he faked pain just so he could get a prescription for 1,800 milligrams of pain medication per day. And on top of all of that, he was having ketamine infusions. Now, if you don't know what ketamine is a general
something
anesthetic whose medical risks require a healthcare professional to literally monitor the patient after they have received the medication to make sure that there are no complications. I mean, it is a very, very serious medication. He was also given propofol during...
Oh, Lord have mercy.
During a surgery, which actually stopped his hearts for 5 minutes. Now, propofol is the...
That's pretty... I mean, propofol, yeah, that happens.
Same medication.
That's why they got RTs in the room.
That contributed...
Oop, they stopped breathing.
...to Michael Jackson.
Oop, I gotta restart your heart.
Jackson's passing. CPR was given that broke 8 of Matthew's ribs, and Matthew then said that he spent $175,000 for a private jet to take him to LA.
Oh my God.
To get more medication. I mean, can you imagine? This is no way for any person to live. But then, when the doctors refused to give him this medication, he spent another $175,000 to fly back to Switzerland to hopefully continue what he was doing there. In 2022, Matthew said that he estimated that he had spent $9 million on his addiction, which included 14 stomach surgeries, 15 stays in rehab, therapy twice a week for 30 years, and time spent in 6,000 AA meetings. I mean,
that is wow.
The investment that Matthew had put in with time and money, and I cannot even imagine the mental stress and games and thoughts of, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I make this flight? Who can get me this? Over the years is just... Crazy. It sounds like a living nightmare, truly. Living in a rich nightmare. That brings us to October 28th of last year, 2023, when 54-year-old Matthew Perry was found unresponsive in a hot tub at his home in LA. He was pronounced deceased at 4:17 p.m. that day. On November 3rd, Matthew's funeral was held where his father, his mother, his stepfather, and his 5 friends, co-stars, attended. On December 15th, it was announced that Matthew's passing was due to acute effects of ketamine.
Mm.
It was said other circumstances that contributed to his passing were things like the effects of opioids, as well as drowning and coronary artery disease. The medical examiner said in a statement that at high levels of ketamine found in his blood, the main lethal effects would be from both cardiovascular overstimulation and respiratory depression, while drowning contributes due to the likelihood of submersion into the pool as he lapsed into unconsciousness. Coronary artery disease contributes due to the exacerbation of ketamine-induced effects on the heart. Now, Matthew had been getting K-assisted psychotherapy sessions to treat anxiety at the time of his passing. His last known session was a week prior to him being found. However, the report stated that the K in his system at his passing could not be from that infusion therapy, meaning, like we talked about earlier,
it was the other kind.
These types of medications or therapies are supposed to be monitored. Now, I'm not going to get into the right or wrong because that is actually like a doctor monitoring this type of treatment. But what they found was the amount that was in his system wasn't from that treatment. And since this K's half-life is 3 to 4 hours or less, there's no way what was in his system could have been from where he was being monitored professionally by a doctor. Now, recently, in May of this year of 2024, an investigation was opened by the LA Police Department to determine just how Matthew got this extremely high dose of K that caused his passing. On August 15th, law enforcement announced that indictments and charges were filed against 5 people. Now,
get them.
Matthew's personal assistant was one of them, 2 other doctors, and 2 dealers.
Mr. Perry's death in October of last year, law enforcement, my office, and our partners represented on this stage began an in-depth, wide-ranging investigation. That investigation has revealed a broad, underground criminal network responsible for distributing large quantities of ketamine to Mr. Perry and others. This network included a live-in assistant, various go-betweens, 2 medical doctors, and a major source of drug supply known as, quote, the ketamine queen.
Dear Lord.
We charged 5 defendants in this matter. These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves. They knew what they were doing was wrong. They knew what they were doing was risking
all for that money, y'all. That's crazy.
Risking great danger to Mr. Perry, but they did it anyways. In the end, these defendants were more interested in profiting off Mr. Perry than caring for his well-being. I'm going to talk about the indictment, the allegations, and the charges in more detail. On October 28, 2023, Mr. Perry was found deceased in his home. An autopsy was conducted following his death. That autopsy showed that he had died due to the acute effects of ketamine. This investigation focused on who supplied the ketamine to Mr. Perry. As many of you know, Mr. Perry struggled with addiction in the past. And on many occasions, he sought help for his addiction issues. The investigation revealed that in the fall of 2023, Mr. Perry fell back into addiction, and these defendants took advantage to profit for themselves. The 2 lead defendants in this case are defendants Salvador Plasencia and defendant Jesvin Sanya. First, I'll talk about defendant Plasencia.
That was the doctor.
Plasencia was a medical doctor. He worked with another medical doctor, defendant Mark Chavez, to obtain ketamine.
Damn.
He then worked with Mr. Perry's live-in assistant, defendant Kenneth Iwamasa.
That dude?
To distribute that ketamine to Mr. Perry. over 2 months, from September to October 2023, they distributed approximately 20 vials of ketamine to Mr. Perry in exchange for $55,000 in cash.
Wow.
Defendant Placentia saw this as an opportunity to profit off of Mr. Perry. He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
You gonna burn in hell for that one.
He also stated in text messages that he wanted to be Mr. Perry's sole source of supply. As a doctor, Defendant Placentia knew full well the danger of what he was doing.
Yeah.
In fact, on one occasion, he injected Mr. Perry with ketamine, and he saw Mr. Perry freeze up and his blood pressure spike. Despite that, he left additional vials of ketamine for Defendant Iwamasa to administer to Mr. Perry.
The live-in assistant, dude? Oh, hell no. I wonder how much medical training that guy has. Can I have none for 500, Alex? Jeez. Alec? What is it, Alex?
Of course, Defendant Iwamasa had no medical training to speak of. Defendant Placentia
Yeah, imagine that.
knew what he was doing was harming Mr. Perry. He had spoken to another patient in mid-October 2023, and he told that patient that Mr. Perry was spiraling out of control with his addiction.
Unreal.
Nonetheless, Defendant Placentia continued to offer ketamine to Mr. Perry.
Wow.
Likewise, Defendant Sonia knew what she was doing
Who the heck is that?
was harming defendants and also Mr. Perry. She took advantage of Mr. Perry by selling large
Oh, is that the one that they said was the K Queen?
amounts of ketamine
Bop.
to Mr. Perry.
Sorry, y'all. If the algorithm hears that word more than like once or twice or three times, they get all uppity. Damn TikTok overlords and YouTube overlords. Y'all are crazy as hell. We're grown adults. We should be able to talk about what we want and say what we want. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Over a 2-week period in October of
Especially, never mind. It's a true crime channel.
2023. She sold approximately 50 vials of ketamine for approximately $11,000 in cash.
Man, you can burn to hell for that. Hope it was worth it. $11,000. Wow.
She worked with a broker, Defendant Eric Fleming, and also the live-in assistant, Defendant Iwamasa, to distribute this ketamine.
Jeez Louise.
Sonia and the broker, Defendant Fleming, saw this as an opportunity to profit off of Mr. Perry. In a text message, the broker wrote, quote, "I wouldn't do it if there wasn't a chance of me making some money for doing this." Defendant Sonia sold the batch of ketamine that resulted in Mr. Perry's death on October 28th.
You can burn to hell for that.
Officers later searched Defendant Sonia's home. During that search, they found what amounted to a drug-selling emporium. They found 80 vials of ketamine, thousands of pills containing coke, bottles, and other obtained prescription drugs, and drug-selling
No censorship there.
paraphernalia, including scales and ledgers. As I mentioned, the defendants in this case knew what they were doing was wrong. When they'd refer to the ketamine, they used coded language. They'd refer to it using terms such as, quote, Dr. Pepper, or quote, bots, or quote, cans. Also, defendants Placentia and Chavez, as medical doctors, knew full well this was not the proper way to administer ketamine, and they even talked about that in their exchanges. Sonia had sold ketamine to another customer. That person died the same day.
Oh, hell.
And a family member of that person sent a message to defendant Sonia telling her the cause of death was ketamine. Nonetheless, defendant Sonia continued selling drugs, including
Wow.
the ketamine that ultimately killed Mr. Perry.
Unreal.
That other victim was a person named Cody McLaury.
Oh, Lord. By the way, TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, I'm live every single night. We talk about all kinds of different cases. Hit the follow button real quick. Keep tapping the screen like crazy. Thank you for the little hand heart thingies, y'all. The things down there. I appreciate it. YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. We got 200 people watching and not even 100 likes.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Y'all, hit the thumbs up button. It just helps spread the word about the live stream. Come on, y'all. Let's get at least 200 likes. Come on, y'all. All right, let's keep going.
He died in 2019.
Ooh, thanks for following.
As a result of this investigation, we have filed a drug distribution charge related to the death
Oh, damn. Get him.
of Mr. McLaury. After Mr. Perry died, these defendants tried to cover up what they had done.
Thank you.
On October 28th, after reading news reports of Mr. Perry's death,
Oh, Lord.
defendant Sonia wrote a text message to defendant Fleming saying, quote, delete all our messages.
That ain't gonna work.
Likewise, after Mr. Perry's death, defendant Placentia falsified medical records and notes to try to make it look like what he was doing was legitimate.
Wow.
It was not. We have filed numerous federal charges against the 5 defendants. The penalties these defendants face are very significant. With regard to defendant Placentia, the statutory maximum sentence he faces is 120 years in federal prison.
Wow. Adios, Placenta, or whatever your name is.
And with regard to defendant Sonia, the statutory maximum she faces is life imprisonment.
So
Good. Bye.
now Kenneth has got a plea agreement, which is why he went ahead and pled guilty, the assistant. And so, of course, the assistant is telling everything. And so now all this information is coming out, and he's probably going to have to testify against anybody else that tries to take it to trial. It says that Kenneth has been injecting Matthew with this K in the days leading up to his passing at least 6 to 8 times per day.
Oh, God.
And that he found Matthew unconscious at his house on at least 2 different occasions in just the month of October alone. Now, the plea agreement goes on to say that on the day of Matthew's passing, Kenneth allegedly...
Oh, wow. Yeah. Y'all, he looks rough right there. Damn. I never saw that picture, y'all. He looks rough right there. Poor guy.
Injected Matthew with a shot of K at 8:30 a.m. and then again at 12:45 p.m. while Matthew was watching a movie. Then, about 40 minutes after, Matthew asked Kenneth to get the hot tub going and to shoot me up with a big one. Kenneth allegedly injected Matthew with more K in or near while he was around the hot tub, and this makes 3 injections in a 5-hour period.
Oh, hell.
The plea agreement then says that Kenneth left the home to run errands, which left Matthew unattended in the hot tub. And when Kenneth came back to the house, this is when he found Matthew face down in the hot tub. Matthew's last photo that he posted on his Instagram was taken literally just before he passed away in the hot tub. After Matthew's passing, the National Philanthropy Trust established the Matthew Perry Foundation to support people struggling with addictions. So what do I think? I think this is something that people struggle with every single day. A lot of people don't have the resources that Matthew and other people in that position have, and sometimes it can be to your detriment, like in this situation. I think that the justice system is right to arrest all of the people involved and hold them accountable.
Hell
and
yeah.
I'm glad that they're making an example out of them, because doctors should be afraid of doing this type of thing. I cannot believe that his assistant, I understand, assistants doing everything they can for the person that they work for, but holy cow, that is to the extreme.
To the extreme? No, that's illegal. That's something that should never have happened.
When you talk about ride or die, it sounds like that's exactly what Kenneth was, and to his detriment and to Matthew's detriment. But I have a feeling that Matthew was going to find somebody to do what he wanted anyways. If he would, fly for $175,000 from Switzerland to LA just to try to get some stuff, he was going to do what he was going to do regardless. When I was growing up, kids or people thinking about being famous like that or being on these shows was just like the stars in your eyes. But so many people get lost in that lifestyle and no amount of money can bring them back out. And it's really sad.